We've got some new patrons we want to give a huge thank you to. Archer, Charlie Mudd, Blaze, Elijah, and Tara. We appreciate your support. It had been quite a journey. After our travels in Mexico, down through Central and South America, and then even Indonesia, we were finally back in the States. It was good to be home. I mean, it was also pretty embarrassing that we had fled the country based entirely on some mistaken assumptions I had made. I don't think Mia will ever let me live that one down. But we did still find creatures while we were out there, so it wasn't a total loss. Now that we were back, our first order of business was to breathe easy and just get our bearings again. When I remembered how Robbie hadn't heard from us during my initial absence with the Ordo, we decided we should touch base with all those that we'd lost contact with. Robbie, of course, and Donna, who was still looking after all the cryptids we'd brought to her. Robbie and Donna had still kept in touch while we were away for regular animal checkups. Popeye, the oldest of the Hopkinsville goblins, had passed away about 6 months ago, but Sylvester, Lobo, and all the others were still doing well. There was Christine, the park ranger. She'd had a few more Bigfoot encounters since we'd last seen her. At this point, she could tell that they were pretty accepting of her, friendly even. Mel, the painter who used his art to remember the cryptids he saw, had found and painted a few more. David and all the others from Monsters Den were still active on there. After all our catching up, we did something that, honestly, we should have done from the beginning. Donna and Robbie had already worked together, but that was just the start. We had met all these talented people, this wonderful community who, up until now, had all been on their own. Mia and I couldn't be their only points of contact, especially if we ever went on hiatus again. So we created a new private server. Nothing fancy, basically just a message board like Monsters Den, invitation only. And after some debate between Mia and I, we settled on a name, the Sanctuary Network. Now, not only would we have an easier way to keep in touch with all these people if we or they ever needed help, but they could also help each other. They were all pretty excited about the idea, too. Except for the folks on Monsters Den, I think everyone else was relieved just to know there were others out there, people they could talk with about this secret part of their lives. Now, at that point, we'd already been home for a little bit, and we decided to get back on the road. It's not like we were in any rush, but hey, there's no time like the present. I went to Mia's place so we could have some lunch and then plan out our next destination.
Lucas, come look!
What is it?
There's a fox out back.
Oh, hey, little buddy.
It's like they're looking right at us.
And there he goes.
I'll have to be careful next time I take Fritz out.
Yeah.
So, anyway, where should we go first?
I was debating a few things, but I've actually got a sighting that's only a few months old. You want to check that one out?
Yeah, sure. What would we be after?
The White River Monster in Arkansas. And I will tell you more about it once I do some research.
Wow. I'm used to the creatures having boring names, but White River? Seriously? What, was Blue River taken?
You know I don't have any control over these things.
Yeah, I know. Well, shitty name or not, let's do it.
And so, now that things had officially quieted down and our lives were finally back to normal, or at least whatever normal meant for us nowadays, we hit the road, heading south.
Alright, You said this one was a river monster? I take it those are similar to lake monsters, only they're in rivers.
I mean, yeah. Though, now that you say it, aquatic cryptids really are the only ones that get defined by their environment, huh? We don't go around calling things forest monsters or air monsters.
Snow monster, rock monster. Okay, now it's starting to feel a little bit like Pokemon. Okay, back on track. Tell me about this aquatic creature that happens to live in a river.
You got it. So, the story of the White River Monster begins back during the Civil War. Supposedly, a monster overturned a boat, but I can't find any actual evidence of this outside of people saying basically what I just said. I couldn't even find a record of which side lost a ship.
Hopefully Confederate.
Yeah. The first actual recorded sighting comes from 1912. Well, maybe. Most of the sightings come from the same stretch of river in Arkansas, but this first one was upriver, either in Missouri or just closer to Missouri. So maybe it's the same monster, or maybe not. Either way, 1912, a group of timber workers were floating cedar logs down the river when they saw what they described as a 300-pound turtle. After this encounter, it was reported that they were launching an expedition to go back and look for it, but if they found anything, there aren't any records of it. Jumping ahead just a few years, we have the first definite sighting. In 1915, a plantation owner saw it, reporting that it had gray skin and was as wide as a car and 3 cars long.
I'm so glad cars were invented, so people finally had a good unit of measurement.
They were going to build a giant rope net, but stopped due to a lack of materials and funding.
Kind of important to have those.
After that, we jump forward to 1937. A group of fishermen, or maybe workers on a local plantation, I've seen them described both ways. Whoever they are, they were having trouble catching fish one day, and that's when they saw the monster. So presumably it had been eating the fish they were trying to catch. They went and told Bramlett Bateman, owner of said plantation, and he eventually saw it too. He described it as having the skin of an elephant, 4 or 5 feet wide by 12 feet long, with the face of a catfish, lolling on the surface of the water. Now, Bateman wanted to blow it up with TNT because apparently it posed a threat to his crops.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
Obviously, town officials did not let him do that. This did, however, lead to a media frenzy with people showing up from all over. The Chamber of Commerce even hired a deep-sea diver to explore the river. Charles B. Brown. He even brought a harpoon with him just in case. He ended up going in a few times, got stuck in the mud at least once, and didn't find anything. The Chamber of Commerce also built a fence around that part of the river and charged people $0.25 apiece to look for the creature.
Good old capitalism.
Yeah. They must have made good money too, because apparently there were hundreds of sightings in this period. Also, around this time, County Deputy Z.B. Reed was out with Bateman, and he saw it as well, describing it as a giant sturgeon or catfish. After that big flap, things quieted down until the summer of 1971, when a lot of people started seeing it again. And overall, the area and the monster once again got a bunch of national attention like it did back in 1937. Eyewitness sightings from this period claim that it was the size of a boxcar, had a horn on its forehead, and smooth skin that looked like it was peeling or molting.
What's the ratio for a car to boxcar conversion?
Roughly 2-to-1 if my math is correct. Another report said it had a spiny back and was 20 feet long, though I'm not sure if that length refers to the spiny section or the whole thing. A sheriff reported finding 3-toed tracks 14 inches long leading down to the river. A local fisherman claimed he was with his grandson when something bumped the bottom of his boat, but he didn't actually see anything. Jimmy Driftwood even wrote a song about the monster.
Jimmy Driftwood?
According to Wikipedia, he was a folk singer who wrote more than 6,000 songs.
That's certainly Prolific.
Yeah, he must have been desperate for inspiration. 2 years later, in 1973, Senator Robert Harvey created a bill that was actually signed into law by the Arkansas State Legislature. This law created the White River Monster Refuge, a portion of the river in which it is illegal to molest, kill, trample, or harm the White River Monster while he is in the retreat.
Wow. So, technically, the United States government has officially recognized the existence of a cryptid?
Yeah, I guess so. Things pretty much seemed to quiet down after that, and there weren't any more real sightings up until the recent one. I have not yet been able to find that witness's name, but apparently they were out fishing when they saw something.
They saw something?
Give me a break. I have been trying to find out more, but there isn't much out there yet. That does it for sightings, though.
What about theories?
Well, as with most aquatic monsters out there, basically every kind of fish has been tossed around as a possible explanation. The fact that the sightings aren't super detailed doesn't help either. Besides fish, though, we've got manatees, alligator snapping turtles, something called Xiphactinus, which is an extinct species of bony fish. A famous cryptozoologist by the name of Roy Mackal thought that it was an elephant seal, but there's no one theory that's any more compelling than the rest.
So basically, it could be anything. Glad we narrowed that down.
We drove for a few days before finally reaching Newport, Arkansas, a small city, or maybe a big town, near the northeastern corner of the state. Once we settled in, I was finally able to track down the name of the most recent witness, but unfortunately, they didn't want to talk to us. And per their request, I won't be mentioning their name either. So instead, we started asking around. The hope was that we could find anyone else who had seen something. After an entire day in town, though, we still hadn't found any leads, and the townsfolk were not exactly welcoming. Wow. Nobody wants to talk to us, huh?
Maybe they're sick of monster talk after all the attention and tourists that came to this town in the past.
Yeah, you're probably right. I guess we should just head out there, start looking for it then?
Might as well.
So, the following day, we parked our car next to a boat ramp and made ourselves comfortable on a nice spot overlooking the river. Then we just started to keep watch, which was exactly as interesting as you might expect. We returned the next day, and in the afternoon, we noticed the same car driving by a few times. Eventually, the car slowed down and parked next to ours. An older man got out and started approaching us.
Great.
Think we're in trouble?
You didn't see any no parking signs, right?
No, maybe he just wants to look at the river too.
You folks from out of town?
Yeah, just enjoying the view while we're in the area.
Is that so? So you ain't the two that's been asking everyone about Whitey?
I'm sorry?
You know about the monster?
Everyone in town knows the stories. Ain't no monster in this river.
Right, of course.
If there's no monster, then why did you call it Whitey? Have you seen it?
Listen here. Whatever is or is not in that river, we don't need the likes of you in this town. We've had enough monster hunters and camera crews, and Whitey certainly don't need it either.
So, he does exist.
I'm sorry, sir, but I promise you, we don't have any negative intentions here. We're just researchers. Observers. Whitey's not alone. We've seen a lot of unique creatures around the country.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, if you're telling the truth, then good luck spotting him. And if you're not, well, you won't be welcome in this town very long. Not to mention, it'd be against the law.
We have heard of that law, actually. But we'd love to know more about the creature. Is there anything you could tell us about it?
I've said enough already.
Whitey. I guess folks must be protective of him.
I guess so.
Apparently, we must have passed some sort of local test because the very next day I received an email from the witness. They still weren't willing to do an interview, but they did tell us the specific area in which they saw it, just outside of town, so we started watching that section of the river. After a few more days that were somehow even less exciting, we finally had some luck.
There's something over there.
What is it? Fish or...
Hold on.
I really need to get my own pair of binoculars.
What are you? A dolphin? No. Whatever it is, must be our creature.
Let me look.
Okay, here. What? What is it?
I think it's an ichthyosaurus.
What's that?
Prehistoric reptile. Lived the same time as dinosaurs. They're like the lizard equivalent of dolphins.
Oh, okay. Should we try to get a closer look?
Yes.
Okay, Fritz, I'm gonna need you to stay calm. Don't want to scare it away.
Can you sense it, or did you just happen to see it?
Just got lucky seeing it.
We walked alongside the river, getting as close to the creature as we could, but it was closer to the other bank and still frustratingly out of reach. I wish we had some bait.
By the time we got around to that side of the river, it could be long gone.
What about one of Fritz's treats?
I mean, you might scare it away, but up to you. Even if you do scare it away, at least we got to see it from here.
It's worth a shot. Come on, Whitey. Damn it.
Hey, at least we tried. Let's go pack up.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, it's just an owl.
Yeah, but I couldn't see it for a second. It spooked me. I thought owls were nocturnal.
Nah, not all of them. Then again, it is almost dark out. Maybe this one's just an early riser.
Why is it just sitting on the car like that?
Maybe it saw Fritz. Thought it might get an easy meal.
Oh, no, you don't. Not today, bird. Get out of here. Shoo. Shoo.
Field notes. White River Monster. The White River Monster appeared to be a member of the ichthyosaur family. The ichthyosaurs, as Lucas mentioned, were a group of prehistoric reptiles that evolved and adapted to sea life in much the same way that a group of mammals evolved into whales and dolphins. Ichthyosaurs as a whole are an interesting case study in convergent evolution, which is when similar features pop up in unrelated groups, because they do appear basically similar to dolphins. The White River Monster was no exception. A long, thin mouth filled with small, conical teeth, a dorsal fin on its back, and a caudal fin on its tail. Long front flippers, and the biggest difference from a dolphin is that it also had smaller back flippers. As far as coloration, the White River Monster was primarily brown, with darker brown stripes running along its back, and a lighter tan underbelly. The creature measured approximately 9 feet long, which is roughly average for ichthyosaur species. A lot of cryptids are larger than their normal counterparts, but if anything, this one was a little on the small side. Perhaps due to the fact that ichthyosaurs were generally seafaring, whereas this one lives in a river? It's hard to say. Ichthyosaurs primarily ate fish, and given the shape of its teeth, there's no reason to assume the White River Monster is any different. Another interesting fact about ichthyosaurs is that, again like dolphins, they apparently gave birth to live young. Although we only saw the one creature here, so there's no way for us to tell if there's a breeding population, let alone if they still give birth to live young. That should be it for this one, though. End field notes.
The Cryptid Cases has been a production of Little Giant Monsters. Find out more about us at littlegiantmonsters.com and by searching for Little Giant Monsters on social media. Every Monday after a new episode, we share a cryptid sketch, so be sure to look out for that. If you're enjoying the Cryptid Cases and want to help support us, find us on Patreon. Rewards include behind-the-scenes content, early access to episodes, and access to our Discord. A huge thanks to all our current patrons. Links to our Patreon, our merch, and other shows we're creating are all available on our website or in the description of this episode. Another way to support our work is through ratings and comments on Apple Podcasts and other podcast apps. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.